for having me over for this webinar. The topic of the webinar is emotions management, and as Dr. rightfully said, it's the need of the hour due to the pandemic as well as the sociological conditions. When I say emotions management, I don't mean the emotional intelligence, which is the Western management model, which addresses the behavioral part of it. Of course, it is important, but it is the Eastern part of the world, Indian philosophical way of handling emotions, which addresses the root cause. That is what we are going to deal today as well as tomorrow. Having said that, one of the definitions for emotions is emotion, energy in motion. And like any other energy, energy can be used like atomic energy. It can be used for constructive purposes. It can be used for destructive purposes also. Greatest creations of the world, man-made of course, as well as worst destructions of the world is because of emotionally passionate people. Because emotions are both positive as well as negative. When your actions are backed up by emotions, they become very, very passionate. Wright brothers looked at an eagle soaring into the sky, passionately felt man can fly, and created an aeroplane. Somebody was equally passionate, took the same aeroplane and hit it into the World Trade Center, and vast destruction happened. Now, behind both these actions, it is emotions. Because emotions are both positive as well as negative. When you use them positively, you create, and when you use them negatively, you destroy. So the context of this webinar is how to heighten the impact of positive emotions and how to bring down the impact of negative emotions in our personality. I'd like to open my presentation now. Just give me a moment. We are going to do a small emotional evaluation. I request all of you to have a pen and paper by the side. I'm going to ask you all 6 questions. You don't have to write down the questions. Just write down the question number and give yourself marks for each and every one of these questions on a scale of 0 to 10. I'll guide you throughout the process. Couple of guidelines for this exercise. There is nothing like right or wrong, how much mark is good or bad, and you don't have to share these marks with anybody. So with these guidelines, I'm going to ask you all 6 questions, right? Question number 1. Some of these questions may be a little disturbing to you. Just be one with me, you will get the context. First question, how uncomfortable are you with your sexuality? Which means what? In the presence of a person of opposite sex, how disturbed you become. The more disturbance happens to you, more will be the marks. Nothing happens to you, would be a 0 or 1 or 2. The more disturbed you are in the presence of a person of opposite sex, more will be the marks. Second question, what is the level of your anger? You need to take 2 things into consideration for this. First aspect is frequency, and the second is intensity. The more frequently you become angry and the more intensive your anger is, more will be the marks. Third question, how often do you compromise on your values to achieve your goals? Let me explain this question a little more. Earning money is everybody's goal, but honesty is a value. How often can you be dishonest in earning this money, in the process of earning this money? How often do we lie, we cheat, we manipulate others to take a shortcut towards success in life? I'll give you some more examples. Let us say you have to renew your 2-wheeler license. 2 days, you have to go to the RTO office, stand in the queue, etc. But some broker comes and tells you, you just put your signature in all these places I have marked into in the application and give me 4 passport size photos. Bike only 2-wheeler. I'll get you the 4-wheeler license also, if required, even the heavy duty one. It doesn't matter whether you know or not what is a clutch or accelerator or a brake in a car. We will learn whenever we buy that. All that you need to do is you have to pay me a brokerage of 2,000 rupees. Would you do that or not? Let us say you're going in your bike, signal junction, red signal falls, yours is the first vehicle and no policeman around. Would you wait or vroom you go? Let us say you have constructed a house, an individual house, and road widening is happening. Normally speaking, you would lose your compound wall. But if you could pay 25,000 to the local politician, you can save your wall, only the neighbors would go. Would you do that or not? I can go on asking maybe 20, 30 such questions. The purpose behind the question is, how often do we take a shortcut to achieve the goals of our life? The more often it happens with you, more would be the marks. Fourth question. How often are you cheated or exploited or taken for a ride by people whom you love or trust? You love people, they let you down. You trust people, they stab you in the back. How often it happens with you? You're so gullible. Even a small child can take you for a jolly good ride, like this Vadivelu in movies. More will be the marks. Now, fifth question, I will ask in three parts, A, B, and C. And you score marks for them individually, separately. 5A, how beautiful or handsome you think you are. The more beautiful you are, the more handsome you think you are, more will be the marks. I know some of you would like to give 15 or 20, but the maximum is only 10. B, how do you rank yourself with respect to your educational qualifications, intelligence, and capabilities? The more intelligent you are, the more highly qualified you are, the more capable you are, you think you are, more will be the marks. And C, how do you rank yourself with respect to your success and achievements, your landmark achievements? The more successful you think you are, the more achievements you have created, more will be the marks. Right? So 5A, B, and C, I hope you all have done that. You don't have to take an average, keep them like that only. And the sixth question is, your colleague in your office with similar eligibility criteria gets promoted and you're not. How jealous would you feel? You're burning with jealousy. Unless this person is finished up from my department, I cannot be happy. If such is the level of your jealousy, more marks. Nothing happens to you. You start blaming your horoscope, all my planets are working overtime for me. What to do? I was born at the wrong time, manufacturing defect. Now, such is the level of your lack of jealousy, less will be your marks. I hope you all have scored marks for all these 6 questions. Now, let us look at the emotions for which you have scored these marks. Question number 1 is the mark that you have scored for kama or lust. The emotion corresponding to the first question is kama or lust. In Tamil, it is kamam. The second is krodha or anger. In Tamil, it is kobam. Third is lobha, greed, perasai. Fourth is moha, infatuation or delusion. And fifth is mada or ego. And sixth is matsarya or jealousy. The marks that you have scored are for these 6 negative emotions. Now, most of the religions agree that these are negative emotions. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, they say. But in this session, I'm going to tell you, actually, the so-called negative emotions are not negative. They are beautiful, positive emotions up to a fine dividing line. It is the unhealthy usage of these emotions which make them negative. So this entire emotions management session, what we are going to do is, we are going to see the level up to which these emotions are going to be positive, beyond what level they will start becoming negative. And if you don't handle the negativity of these negative emotions, what is the price that we keep paying in life? And the third part would be how to handle these negative emotions. Now let us look at each and every one of these emotions in detail. The first emotion is kama or lust. Now the positive connotation of this emotion is sex. It's a God-given emotion for procreation, for progeny. Every one of us is a product of this emotion. Nobody came straight from the heaven. But when you're consumed with this energy so much, you're blinded by this emotion so much, you're not able to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. It blinds you. Then it becomes negative. In fact, in Indian philosophy, karma was considered to be one of the pathways for moksha, a pathway for salvation. You know, we go through four energies in life, in four phases of our life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, our ancestors said. In Tamil, it is Aram, Porul, Inbam, Veedu. Now, rishis divided our lives into four phases. We were supposed to live for at least 100 years, and each 25-year period was a phase, is a phase. The initial 25 years of your age, this phase is called as Brahmacharya Ashrama. This is where our education happens. We learn dharma. What is right? What is wrong? Roughly around 25 years of age, your education is complete, you get married. Now you leave the Brahmacharya Ashrama and you get into the Grihastha Ashrama. And there, the two energies that you go through are Artha and Kama. Now you have a family, so you earn money, Artha, to support this family. And you go through this emotion of Kama for procreation, for progeny. Roughly 50 years of age, your children are grown up now. Now 25 years, you attach to a family, you get into the next phase of Vanaprastha Ashrama, which means gradual detachment. You start handing over your charges. You get your children settled. Businessmen pull their children into their business. Finger holding. You know, this is preparation for moksha, which happens through in the third phase of our life, Vanaprastha. Roughly 75 years of age, you renounce everything and get into the final phase of our life, Sannyasa Ashrama, moksha, in the pursuit of moksha. So if you look at this model, one of the phases of our life, we go through this emotion. There is nothing wrong with that. Therefore, you go to the old temples of this land, you would find such postures on the gopurams. Temples those days were considered to be a representation of human life. You will find these postures, you will find a guru teaching, and students are sitting and listening. You will find a businessman selling stuff, and people are buying on the periphery of the gopuram. Because in the periphery of your life, you go through all these things in your life. Once you enter into the sanctum sanctorium, there is only godliness. So, my dear friends, sex is a beautiful, positive emotion, but when it becomes lust, when it starts blinding you, it does not allow you to segregate right from wrong, then it starts becoming negative. It needs to be handled. The second emotion is anger. Krodha is also a positive emotion. A lot of us think anger is negative. Let us say you don't get angry at all. A colleague in your department goes on irritating you, goes on manipulating you. And you tell yourself, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, no, anger is negative. I should not get angry. I should not get angry. What will happen to you? People will take you for a jolly good ride. People will walk all over you. You would become a doormat. Healthy anger, proportionate anger, proportionate to the situation. You need to have to handle people, to handle situations. You know, you put one letter D in front of anger, anger becomes danger. And that letter D is very, very significant. Is your anger by design or is it by default? If it is by design, you would learn to use it like a tool. Let us say a situation warrants 5 units of anger, and you display that 5 units of anger. It is beautiful. You should have that. But A situation warrants 5 units of anger and you display 50 units of anger. Now, where is the balance 45 units coming from? Is our own garbage. The situation triggers that garbage, and all that which is bottled up inside comes out in the form of disproportionate anger, and that disproportionate anger needs to be handled. And I love this analogy. Most of us are like a Goli soda bottle. Have you seen a Goli soda bottle? Appears to be very, very normal, like drinking water bottle, isn't it? But there is a lot of gas inside. Somebody pushes that Goli down, all that gas which is accumulated inside, it comes out, isn't it? Exactly in the same manner, a lot of us, we appear to be normal, but in the journey of life, we have accumulated a lot of gas, a lot of garbage, the hurts, the upsets, the shames, the guilt, the frustration, all these emotions are bottled up inside, and somebody does something to you. It is like pushing down of the Goli, and all those pent-up emotions come out in the form of disproportionate anger. My master, he gives me this example. He says, your anger is active sadness. Sadnesses which are pent up inside are expressing themselves as anger. And your sadnesses are passive anger waiting to burst one day. What happened to Mike Tyson? You know, a lot of you youngsters may not know what happened in the World Championship final. Bit of Evan Holyfield's years, isn't it? For that 1 second, 1 moment, he could not control his negative emotion of anger towards the opponent. He totally forgot thousands of people are watching it live and millions of people are watching on the television. Just bit of Evan Holyfield's anger years. And what is the price that he paid? Was disqualified from the World Championship permanently. Same Mike Tyson. A girl came to his hotel room to take his autograph. And for that 1 moment, he could not control his negative emotion of lust towards this girl, molested her, and spent 3 years of his life in jail when he was the world champion. 1 moment of these emotions, when they go beyond your control, your actions are not in your hand. I want to give one more example. You know, I don't want to take the name. He's one of famous stars in Telugu cinema. He once asked my master this question. He said, I have at least 20 people working in my house, servants, cooks, cleaners, gardeners, drivers, etc. I pay them very, very well. I support them financially very well. I educate their children. I have constructed houses for them, etc. But sometimes when they cheat me, when they lie, I get so angry, he said. My blood pressure starts going up. I start shouting at people left, right, and center. My mood goes off. And sometimes I end up canceling my shooting and sitting at home also. Don't you think my anger is justified? He asked. You know what my master said? You're such a great actor, such a superstar. Why could you not act out anger? Why could you not use it like a tool to handle people, tool to handle situations? Why should your blood pressure go up? Why should you start shouting at people left, right, and center for the whole day? And why should you end up canceling your shooting and sitting at home? So the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we having the anger or is anger having us? If we have the anger, we would use it as a tool to handle people as well as situations, right? So proportionate anger, proportionate to the situations we should have. It is a disproportionate anger which blinds us to the situations, which becomes negative and which needs to be handled. Bharati also said so beautifully, Raudram Palagu. He never said, you become a Raudra. He said, you practice Raudra. Such a beautiful statement. Right. Now let us look at the third emotion, Lobha, greed. Perasai, we say in Tamil, isn't it? Now a healthy greed, which motivates us to give valuable goals for our life, is very, very important, which motivates us to give us healthy goals like success, satisfaction, good sound physical health, loving relationships, mental peace, happiness. Only when you have healthy greed, you will have such beautiful goals for your life. It is the unhealthy greed. In Tamil, if you ask me, when your asai becomes perasai, ati asha, they say, that you don't stop short of doing something wrong also to achieve what you want to achieve in life. Now that unhealthy greed is negative, and that needs to be handled because it blinds you. What happened to match fixing in cricket? You win or you lose, you earn millions of money. Over and above, you have advertisement endorsements, but some broker comes and tells them, you forget about winning, you get out, you drop the catches, whatever is your match fee, 2 times, 3 times, more than that, I would give you, blinded by greed. They forgot. I'm playing for my country, my team, and the dharma of any game is to play to win. You win or lose, it happens at the end of it, but you play to win. You forget the dharma. You're not able to see tomorrow there is a BCCI inquiry, a CBI inquiry, life ban. And that's what unhealthy greed does to us. You all blame politicians, isn't it? We say that they are corrupt. There is this great philosopher, he says, you get the leaders that you deserve. Because the leader's value system reflects the collective consciousness of the value system of the society. Something we need to think. If we all put our hand on your heart and asked ourselves, I asked some 4 or 5 questions before you all scored marks. Most of us would have said, yes, I would do that for most of these questions, isn't it? Now, all of us are corrupt at some level or other. We do it at our level and they do it at their level. That needs to be handled. So healthy greed, which motivates us to have valuable goals for life, is beautiful, is positive. It is the unhealthy greed which needs to be handled. 4th emotion, moha, infatuation or delusion. Now, the positive side of this emotion is love or trust. Now, there is no meaning in your relationships if you don't have love, if you don't have trust. But if your love becomes infatuation, you are so much infatuated with this person that you don't see anything negative at all in this person, then you're waiting to be taken for a jolly good ride by this person. This is what happens before marriage with youngsters, isn't it? Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, every day for half an hour, 1 hour, best dress, best makeup, best smiles, and best behavior. And even if someone says, no, actually this person is having this negativity, no, the person whom I love, straight from heaven, nothing wrong at all. And you get married. Then after marriage, you have to live with this person for 24 hours under the same roof. Now, 24 hours, where to go for best dress, best makeup, best behavior, all that which is garbage, which is hidden in the backyard, comes to the drawing hall. And you have Kurukshetra at home after that. When you were in love, you were not like this. When we were newly married, you were not like this. The person was always like this. You didn't have eye to see. They say love is blind. No, that proverb is wrong. In fact, infatuation blinds you. Love can see. Love can see the negativity in people also. Love would make you accept the person along with the negativity, and love will also motivate you to do something about the negativity the person is having. That love can always see. It is the infatuation which blinds you. Even delusion. Trust is very, very important. But if your trust becomes blind trust, you don't do any homework about the trustworthiness of the person at all, then you're ready to be let down by the person. That's what happens to people who put money in, dubious companies. How often we see on TV, all my lifetime saving, I put on this company, and overnight, this fellow ran away. You don't do your homework about how many years this person has been in this business. What is his track record? Blindly, so many people invested in teak farms. You've seen all those history, isn't it? Sericulture farms, emu. It went up to the level of country chickens also. Now we blame others when others cheat us, but we forget to ask ourselves this question. This person was not able to cheat everybody. Why I got cheated? If you do the root cause analysis, you will come in touch that you were gullible. We did not do the homework, and therefore we were taken for a jolly good ride. And that negativity needs to be handled. So love or trust is a beautiful emotion. But when love becomes infatuation, when your trust becomes blind trust, you're deluded by this blindness, then people can cheat you very, very easily. And that needs to be handled. The fifth emotion is mother or ego. Ego also is beautiful. Ego also is positive. Unfortunately, we have only one word, ego, in English. In Sanskrit, you have two words, ahankara and asmita. Now, ahankara is the negative ego, and asmita is the positive ego. And we need to have that positive ego to be successful in life. And what are the qualities of positive ego? Self-confidence, self-worth, self-respect, self-esteem. We need all these in abundance for us to be successful in life. It is the overconfidence. I'm the latest, I'm the greatest. That blinds you. That does not allow you to see the true worth of people. That will not permit you to work in teams also in your life. And that ahankara, negative ego, needs to be handled. I love this beautiful anecdote. Some of you might have read in WhatsApp, etc. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Hindi superstar, Dilip Kumar of yesteryears. He was the first superstar of the Indian cinema during the black and white movie days. He shares in his biography this anecdote. It seems the first color movie made in Indian cinema, Hindi cinema, was Aan. And those days, the studios in India, they did not have the facilities to process color movies. And therefore, it seems Dilip Kumar had to go to London quite a few number of times. And he has the history of being mobbed the maximum number of times. You know, mobbing, when popular stars, etc., they come in public places, people start pulling them to take selfies, etc. He has the history of having been mobbed a lot of times. It seems one day, Dilip Kumar, early in the morning, 3:34, he leaves his house. And at that time, so early in the morning, some 200, 300 people are standing in front of his gate, shouting slogans, Dilip Kumar ki jai, etc. And somehow with great difficulty, he makes way through, reaches the airport. At the airport, he gets mobbed again. People trying to pull his shirt, pushing for autographs. And with a lot of irritation in his mind, early in the morning also, people are troubling so much. He goes, he does the checking in, formalities over, immigration, everything. He gets into the British Airways flight, goes into the business class, and with a lot of irritation, removes his coat, throws on the seat, and sits down. After a while, he turns to the side, and to his side, he sees there is an Indian gentleman sitting and reading a magazine. And when all the commotion created by him happened, turns, looks at him, and no change of expression on his face, goes back to his magazine. And Dilip Kumar mentions in his biography, for the first time, it so happens in my life, after I became a superstar, an Indian looked at me, and no change of expression. He did not recognize me. He did not try to talk to me. He was doing what he was doing. So he's waiting, he will talk, and he's not talking. After some time, he initiates, looks at him, smiles, and says, hello, sir, hello, hi. This person turns, looks at him, smiles, and says, hi, and goes back to the book. Now, Dilip Kumar continues the discussion. He says, I think you don't recognize me. Now, this person is shocked. Have you met somewhere before, sir? I'm really sorry. Now, this is too much. There's something like you and Rajinikanth are traveling in the train, and this sort of a discussion is happening between both of you. Now, Dilip Kumar is a little shaken up. He smiles uneasily and says, "No, sir, we have not met before, but generally people know me." Now, this person is shocked. He asks, "Why would people know you?" For which Dilip Kumar says, "Because I'm a superstar, I act in movies." "Oh, you are an actor. I'm really sorry, sir. Therefore, I could not recognize you. I'm so busy in my business, I don't have time to watch any movies." Now, Dilip Kumar is taken aback. He asks, "So busy in business that you don't have time to watch movies. So what is the business that you do?" And this person reels out the names and names of some 20, 30 businesses. And now Dilip Kumar is taken aback again. "I know the names of these business houses, but I don't know him." So he asks them, "What is your name?" And this person says, "My name is J.R.D. Tata." Dilip Kumar writes in his autobiography, in his biography, one of the two samrats of the business empire was sitting by my side with so much of humility, and the kind of feeling I went through at that time is, he quotes an Urdu proverb to say how a camel would have felt when it passes by the side of a mountain for the first time. You know, camel is an animal of the desert where it might not have seen too many tall creations. It seems when the camel is walking by the side of the mountain, the camel lifts up its head to see, oh, there are taller creations in the world also, it realizes, it seems. And that is the feeling I had, he says. Such a great man. I did not recognize him, and he was not bothered at all. And for 5 minutes, somebody could not recognize me, and I got so disturbed, he says. Then I realized humility is a great value, he mentions in the biography. It is only empty vessels which make a lot of noise. We need to think about it. So, positive ego, which is self-confidence, self-worth, self-respect, self-esteem. We need that in abundance for us to be successful in life. It is a negative ego, ahankara. I'm the latest. Us to recognize the true worth of people, and also it will not permit us to work in teams. Finally, matsarya or jealousy. Jealousy also is beautiful, positive. A colleague in your department with same eligibility criteria is doing better than you. You should have a healthy jealousy, which would motivate you. I also would do my best. I also would grow in life. That healthy, competitive spirit we all should have for us to be successful in life. Somebody is doing better than you, and you're burning with jealousy that it cripples you. That unhealthy jealousy needs to be handled. That's what happens to Duryodhana in the Mahabharata, isn't it? At one point, war is declared. At one point, Krishna is going to him. As a last option, he says, just give them 5 villages. We'll stop the war. Best deal. You keep the entire Samrajya. These 5 fellows are there, Pancha Pandavas. You just give them 5 villages, 1 village each. We'll stop the war, he says. Consumed with jealousy, what does Duryodhana say? 5 villages. Land equal to a point of needle also I will not give to them. Their entire clan should be wiped off from this earth. Unless that happens, I cannot be happy, he says. What happens? Kurukshetra happens. His clan gets wiped out, and he also dies in the process. That's what happens to unhealthy jealousy. And I love the story. It seems a person, he did a lot of tapas, penance. And God appeared in front of him and he said, I'm so happy with your penance. You can ask for a boon. Now, this person was a greedy person. So he gave a long list of things that he wanted, like a grocery list. And God said, stop. For the kind of the tapas that you did, you are eligible only for 1 boon. Therefore, ask for 1 boon, he says. This person a little smart. He looks at God and says, okay, God, you will give me only 1 boon. Then give me the boon of Whatever I ask for, I should get. God thought, it since this fellow is over smart, I should teach him a lesson. So he says, Tathastu, I will give you the boon, but conditions apply. You will get whatever you want, but your neighbor would get twice of what you get. The person started thinking, but it's okay. Anyway, I will get what I want, no? Therefore, he says, okay, Lord. And Lord teaches him the technique and he disappears. That day, that night, he sits in his torn mattress and uses the technique and prays to the Lord sincerely. Lord, tomorrow morning when I get up, this ordinary hut of mine should become a 10 bedrooms bungalow, centrally air conditioned, huge balconies, huge lawns, compound wall, and he sleeps on the mattress. Next day morning, when he gets up, he's sleeping in a 10 bedroom bungalow, centrally air conditioned. And he comes out to see beautiful balconies, huge lawns, compound wall. He thinks, okay, God has not cheated me, and lifts his head to look at the neighbor's hut, twice as big, 20 bedrooms, all centrally air conditioned. Compound wall, twice the height of his compound wall. Now he starts burning with jealousy. I did all the tapas. God appeared in front of me and he gave me the boon. And this fellow, without doing anything, is getting twice. But what to do? God attached the condition. So somehow he settles down. That night, he again sits in his bed and prays to God, uses the technique. God, tomorrow morning when I get up, I should have 4 cars in my garage, a BMW, an Audi, a Ferrari, and whatever. And he goes to sleep. And next morning, he goes and sees in the garage 4 shining, gleaming cars are there. He's very happy, takes out the Ferrari and goes for a drive. He sees the neighbor's garage. 8 cars are there, two of each, BMW, Audi, Ferrari, etc. Now he's burning with jealousy. I did all the tapas and God appeared in front of me and he gave me the boon. And this fellow, without doing anything, is getting twice of whatever I'm getting. I should teach him a lesson, he decides. And that night, he sits in his bed, uses the technique and sincerely prays, Lord, tomorrow when I get up, you remove one of my eyes. Then only the neighbor would lose both the eyes, isn't it? That's what we do in life. A lot of people are unhappy in life, not because of what less or more they have. We are unhappy because the neighbor has more than what I have. A lot of people have this definition in mind. If somebody or other is having something or other more than what I have, then I don't have. If that is the definition we have in our life for happiness, we will never be able to be happy in life because somebody or other is going to have something or other more than what we have in life. And that jealousy consumes us, cripples us. Forget about doing better than other. It will cripple you, that will not allow you to do whatever best that you are capable of doing in your life also. So my dear friends, if you look at the so-called negative emotions, they are actually not negative. They are beautiful, positive emotions given to us for a purpose. It is the overusage of these negative emotions. It is the negativity of these negative emotions. When you are consumed by that, they become negative in life. I hope you got it. So if you look at the scores, the marks that you have given yourself, you may get this question, okay, up to what level these are positive? Beyond what level they would start becoming negative, right? I said sex is positive, which is used for procreation and progeny. I said healthy anger is required, otherwise people will use you like a doormat. I said healthy greed is important for you to give valuable goals of life. And I said, love is beautiful, trust is beautiful, asmita, positive ego, self-confidence, self-respect, self-worth is beautiful, healthy competitive spirit is beautiful. So what would be the mark for you to identify how much of these emotions you have in your personality? For whichever question, my dear friends, you have scored more than a 4 or 5. Please understand, they have crossed the healthy limit, right? And a lot of you would realize for most of the questions, we have got excellent marks. And these many marks, if you had scored in schools or colleges, you would have gone places, right? Okay. Now, if you don't handle the negativity of these negative emotions, what is the price that we are going to pay? Because unless we understand and realize the price that we keep paying in life, we won't be motivated to handle these negative emotions, right? So what is the price that we are going to pay? I want you all to look at this principle, hero principle. It's a beautiful principle. H-E-R-O, hero is written vertically here. H stands for happenings. Life is nothing but a series of happenings. A happening after a happening, after a happening, after a happening. Your boss shouts at you, it's a happening. Your spouse doesn't listen to you, it's a happening. Your children are mischievous at home, they don't perform well, it's a happening. The students of your class are disobedient, it's a happening. Life is nothing but a series of happenings, and we don't have any control over life happenings. Ideal life happenings, who would not want? A pandemic is on, nobody asked for that. You don't have control over it, it is a happening. So H stands for happenings of our life, and our life is nothing but a series of happenings over which we don't have any control. And O stands for outcome. Every happening will have an outcome. And outcome is definitely in our hands, because this outcome is based on the two middle letters E and R, and E stands for evaluation. How are you evaluating this happening in your mind? You can evaluate it with a positive mind. Now, positive mind is a mind which has all the negative emotions within the healthy range. That is a positive mind. And when you evaluate a situation, evaluate a happening with this positive mind, you have clarity of perception. You have the ability to see the happening as it is, as what is, and what is not, as not. And you take an action towards this reality, this happening. And whenever you take action for the happenings of your life, your actions are responses. You're responding to happenings of life. And whenever you respond to life happenings, my dear friends, the outcome is powerful. The same happening, you can evaluate with a negative mind also. Now, negative mind is a mind which is infested with one or more of the negativities of the negative emotion. You don't have to have all of them in the unhealthy range. It can be one or more of these negative emotions which have crossed the healthy range. That mind is a negative mind. And when you evaluate a happening with that negative mind, you don't have clarity of perception. You don't see the happening as a happening, You see the stories born out of these emotions. You don't see the fact, you see the stories. And you start taking action on the stories which are born out of a negative mind, and therefore your actions will become reaction. And whenever you react to life happenings, the outcome is always pain. So the pain or power you see in your life is never because of the happenings of your life. It is always because of the quality of your mind with which you are evaluating the happening. Evaluate with a positive mind, which means a mind which is having all the emotions, especially negative emotions, in healthy range. Then you will respond to a happening which results in power. And evaluate the happening with a negative mind. You don't see the happening as it is. You see the stories born out of the negative mind, and therefore you act towards the stories. Your actions become reactions, resulting in pain. I want to give a couple of examples for you to understand this concept. It seems a samurai warrior, Japanese samurai warrior, these are highly respected in the Japanese society. He goes to a Zen master. Now, Zen is a mystical dimension of Buddhism. Every religion has a mystical dimension. And the enlightened masters of Zen are called Zen master. So this person goes to this Zen master's place. The master is sitting in front of him. So many hundreds of disciples are there. This person walks arrogantly inside, looks at the Zen master and asks him, "Hey master, tell me, what is the way to heaven and what is the way to hell?" The Zen masters are known to speak in short, simple sentences. And when the person understands and digests what he says, he's supposed to become enlightened. And this experience is called as a satori. So the master looks at him and says, "You stupid fool, idiot, you don't even know this." Now, as he is insulted in front of so many disciples, his anger goes up. This master, he has the temerity to insult me, a samurai warrior. Out of anger, he pulls the sword from the sheath, about to chop away the head of the Zen master. The master smiles at him and says, "Now this is the way to hell." And as the warrior listens to that, he realizes the master deliberately made me to become angry for me to realize angry reactions will create hell for me in my life. And with that understanding, he puts the sword back into the sheath. The master smiles at him and says, "This is the way to heaven." My dear friends, heaven or hell, we really don't know they exist or not. Nobody has gone, seen, and come back to tell us. It's just a belief. But you can create your own hell and heaven when we are living in this world. Whenever you respond to life happenings, you create heaven for you. And whenever you react to life happenings, you create hell for you in life. And for reactions, negativity, or the negative emotions are responsible. And for responses, it is the positive range of all the emotions which are responsible. I want to give you one more example. In fact, if we are emotionally centered in life, worst happenings, worst opportunities, worst difficulties, also you can convert them into opportunities. I love this beautiful anecdote which happened in the life of Madan Mohan Malaviya. I hope you all know, all of your academicians, therefore you would be knowing. He is the founder of Banaras Hindu University, BHU, which a few years back, they converted into an IIT along with some more colleges, isn't it? Since when the country was being ruled by the Britishers, Madan Mohan Malaviya wanted to start a world-class university for which he went around the country collecting donations from people, businessmen, small princes, kings, etc. In fact, he had taken an oath, if I don't collect donation from at least one person in a day, I would not eat my food, I will not drink water also. And with that vairagya, it seems, he came to Hyderabad. Hyderabad at that time was being ruled by the Nizams. And that particular Nizam had a reputation of, being conjus, etc. And he comes to his court and asks for donation. And for whatever reason, Nizam does not want to give the donation. A small argument, a discussion which results in an argument happens there. Out of anger, Nizam removes one of his shoes and throws at Malaviya's face. This is the happening. Such an insult. But Malaviya is a very centered person. You know what he does? He takes the shoe in both his hands, bows down to the Nizam and says, "Thank you very much for your donation," and walks out. And next day, an advertisement appears in the newspaper, Nizam's single shoe to be auctioned. The pair of which is with Nizam himself is a collector's item. And auction place is Charminar, busy market area in Hyderabad. And Nizam comes to know about it. He sends his chelas, spies, to find out who buys my shoe, at what rate. And the auction is happening and people are gathered there, Nizam shoe, collector's item, and bidding started. And the spies go back to Nizam and say, "Nizam, your shoe." And people are, bidding for it. And if history comes to know that your shoe went for a lesser rate, what would happen to your dignity? And Nizam, his ego gets disturbed. It seems he sends a lot of money with them, asking them to go on raising the bid. Throughout the day, the bidding should happen. And it seems history says the amount, some of them say it is 1 lakh, some of them say it is 10 lakhs. And Nizam had to pay 1 or 10 lakhs, whatever was the amount, to get back his own shoe, which he threw at Malaviya's face. And Malaviya writes a receipt and sends to Nizam, received a sum of rupees 10 lakhs as donation from the Nizam of Hyderabad towards establishment of Banaras Hindu University. Now that is a response. When your goals are in your focus, and when you are emotionally centered, even an insult, the outcome of which is possible to be converted as into power. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we having a winner's pattern in life, or are we having a victim's pattern in life? When you have a winner's pattern in life, even difficulties, you would convert them into opportunities. And for that, being emotionally centered is very, very important in life. I hope you all understand this. Now, when we look at the marks that we all have got a lot of marks. How to handle them should be the question which should be popping up in your minds. And that would be the subject of deliberation of the second part of this webinar tomorrow. I will give for each and every negative emotion the solutions, which we will discuss tomorrow. And before we part for the day, I need to give you all some homework, okay? You all are teachers, professors who are used to giving homework, but for this one day, I want you all to become students of life, and you do the homework and come. I want to give 2 homeworks. The first homework is, because please understand, whatever a guru or teacher or a trainer gives you is only information. And information is not equal to transformation. Information has to go through 2 more phases before it has the ability to transform your life. Information should become knowledge, knowledge should become wisdom. And when in the light of wisdom, we start living our life every moment, then transformation happens. I speak, you listen, this is a second-hand information. You use this information and you see the result firsthand. This becomes first-hand knowledge. I know that is first-hand knowledge. Now, this knowledge, when you chew, swallow, digest, reflect, contemplate, it will become wisdom. And in the light of wisdom, every moment of our life, when we start living, that becomes transformation. So for information to become at least knowledge, to take to the second level, I'll give you a couple of homeworks, right? The first homework is, you have to identify 3 positive qualities that you have in your personality and write them down, and 3 negative qualities that you have in your personality, area of improvement, and write them down. This is the first part of this homework. The second part of the same homework is, you need to take this feedback from your spouse. If you're married, your spouse should tell you what are the 3 positive qualities that you have and 3 negative qualities that you have. So, happy unmarried people, don't take it from the neighbors. Men, you take this feedback from your father, if he's there, or from a very close, dear relative who can give you an honest feedback. And women, you get this feedback from your mother, right? So this is the first homework. Why? I would explain to you tomorrow, right? The second homework is, second and the last homework, of course, you need to identify a very important relationship of your life with whom you have some differences, because of which you are maybe not in talking terms with the person, or the relationship quality is not the same like before. Identify one such relationship in your life, establish contact with this person, and tell this person, I know you and I have differences, but still, I love you, or I care for you, or you are important to me in my life, in an appropriate language. Now, your ego will not allow you to do this homework. Your ego will say, when this misunderstanding happened, I was right, the other person was wrong. So are you asking me to apologize for something which I never committed? Please understand, friends, I'm not asking you to find out who was right or who was wrong. I'm not asking you to apologize also. The philosophy behind this homework is it is okay to have differences with people. But it is not okay to sacrifice relationships because of differences. Can our relationships become bigger than and inclusive of the differences that we have with people? That is the philosophy behind this homework. I want all of you to reflect on this. How often in our life we could have sacrificed our egos and saved relationships. But we found it easy to sacrifice relationships and saved our egos. You may have one more doubt. Okay, I may be willing to do that, but what if the person does not respond? If the person responds, beautiful, and if the person does not respond, still beautiful. You would simply do this homework because you don't want to carry the stress of an incomplete relationship. Please understand, friends, incomplete relationships are major sources of stress in life. You complete it from your end. Whether the person accepts this, beautiful, does not accept this, still beautiful. The final doubt you may have is, okay, so many years I never spoke and suddenly I contact this person. What if the person thinks that I have some work with him or her because of which I'm doing this homework? You know very well, you have got nothing. You require no help. You do this homework because you realize relationships are very, very important. The person may be watchful for some time, and when he or she realizes there is no such request coming from your end, then the person understands that you have become this person now. So this is the second homework. A small rider in a very lighter vein, don't get me wrong, because when I give homeworks, I have to be a little careful. My request is, please don't contact your ex-girlfriends or boyfriends to do this homework, especially if they are happily married and settled. I don't want to create confusion in anybody's life. And whether you are happily or unhappily married and settled also, please don't do them, right? So these are the two homeworks. Tomorrow, I want, in the chat box, you may share your homework experiences. Don't attach a condition that it should give me the result that I'm looking for, right? So the first homework is +3, -3, assessment by the self and feedback from the family. The second homework is trying to patch up a difficult relationship. So thank you very much for being with me. And we would definitely look at the solutions tomorrow very much in detail. And if there are any questions, maybe a couple of questions I would like to take. Mr. Ramakrishnan.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your thought-provoking and informative message.
Thank you, sir.
Which will make us as a hero in our profession as well as in our life. We have received more number of compliments about the program, ma'am.
Thank you.
But out of these, a couple of compliments I would like to present here. Number one from Professor Venkatesh Nayak from Andhra Pradesh. He has given his compliment, suitable resource person for the excellent topic. Next one, Professor Sangar Pargunan from Mumbai. Nice presentation and informative, very useful today's scenario. Dear participants, here's an announcement for you. Since the same topic will be discussed tomorrow also, we will post the feedback form in the chat box tomorrow. Tomorrow YouTube link also sent already. You can use the same link for tomorrow session. Once again, on behalf of one and all present here and my own behalf, we express our sincere gratitude for your nice presentation, ma'am. Tomorrow we will meet by 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. See you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.
Now the session over. Thank you very much.